And welcome to what could be an extremely long installment of Ben's Junk, if I chose to, anyway. So, I hadn't really planned on covering time-lapse VCRs, for security systems, but I guess 2 or 3 months ago now, a viewer sent me this unmarked VHS tape. And of course, you send the Oddity archive guy an unmarked tape, and he's going to want to know what's on it. So I stuck this in my regular old everyday VHS deck, and I was greeted by what appeared to be a homemade test pattern with some added character generator text. So, cool. Somebody actually made something for me. But after about 30 seconds, it gave way to this head spinningly fast barrage of Oddity archive stuff. And of course, then I realized it was made on a time-lapse VCR. So, of course, I had to fleabay one of these things just so I could watch that homemade tape. Now, I am absolutely not an expert on time-lapse VCRs, so I guess I need to give a little nod here to 12-volt vids here on YouTube for filling me in on these things. But anyway, getting down to my VCR, I just wasn't going to spring for a new old stock unit of something that, I was probably never going to use again. So, as I said, I found this on Fleabay. This was about 25 bucks after shipping, so not bad when you think about it. And this is a First Alert FTR-960R time-lapse VCR, probably from the early 2000s. And if the condition is anything to go by, I'm gonna say this baby's been through its paces. Now, I already knew this much about these things. I knew that the heads, especially given the often 24/7 use of these things, would wear out pretty quickly. So, I wasn't expecting miracles or anything, but the seller claimed it worked, still played tapes and all, so I took the gamble and I figured, well, I've got enough experience with these things now that if it doesn't quite work, I can probably make it workable enough to transfer that homemade tape and hopefully test out the record functions as well. Sure enough, the spinning head drum on this thing was pretty worn. But the big issue was some sort of AV sync problem. It just wouldn't consistently put out a picture, and when it did, the vertical and horizontal holds were a little whack. Another problem was this is one of those magic decks with a self-cleaning device. Just like on the moldy VHS episode I did about a year and a half ago now. But sure enough, the foam that was once on here had completely rotted off. And just like the multi-system VCR I did there, I just cut off the entire piece. I just wasn't putting up with it. So anyway, after a whole lot of cleaning, a lot of deoxit, a lot of lubing, screwing around with anything adjustable, and a whole lot of testing, I finally felt confident enough to put the homemade tape in this machine. And this is a T10 tape, so 10 minutes in SP standard play mode. On a T10 tape, we've got the entire Oddity Archive back catalog up through part of episode 135, which would be the Halloween special from 2017. So anyway, I believe this tape was done in the 240-hour mode. Read 240 hours on a single T120 tape, so a would-be 2-hour in SP mode tape. Now, the thing about that is, that's well below the point where you can get, to the best of my knowledge, so-called real-time footage without audio to boot. Well, at that speed, the machine will just grab a single frame of footage every, I'd guess, 5 to 10 seconds. Well, this VCR claims it can do real-time footage to 24 hours. and but it doesn't get you any audio. So if you want audio, 18 hours. But that's still pretty impressive. So, of course, I had to do some record tests with this thing. But first, dare I admit, I don't have any closed circuit TV stuff, nor do I have anything that works with these screw wire clamp down thingies. But apparently, if you have some sort of panic button in your security system, you can hook it up here and you can, when you press it, trigger the VCR into kicking up into full blown SP mode. So I guess if you worked at a bank or something and you were getting robbed. But screws or not, I learned of another security thing in here. There's an alarm built into this thing. And at one point, this tried to choke on a junker tape I had put in when I was working on it. And it set it off, and I couldn't figure out how to stop it. So, brilliant guy that I am, I just unplugged the machine. But anyway, I'm off topic. Since we were talking closed circuit TV stuff here, the video jacks are BNC. So I actually had to steal the BNC to RCA adapters that I normally keep on my industrial Betamax deck. And as you would expect with something like this, we've only got mono audio to work with when there's audio at all. So, for the sake of my transfers and to the delight of both your ears, I had to do the full mono splitter, RCA coupler, extra RCA cable thing, just so you don't have to deal with true mono audio. But anyway, enough trivia. Let's get to some footage here. But first, I got to give a disclaimer. In case you haven't gotten the hint yet, this thing is on its last legs. So even by the standards of something like this, there's going to be a lot of dropouts and a lot of tracking issues. Also, given the ultra slow tape speed, when there is audio, it's going to be really weak and really muffled. I had to throw everything I had at this one in terms of stabilizing the signal, and that only got me so far, so consider yourself warned. But anyway, with that, let's take a look at two of my recording tests done at the two slowest speeds you can do and still get real-time video, only one of which has audio. Then after that, we'll take a look at a few clips from the homemade tape, of course, which I'm actually seriously considering posting in its entirety to Archive Annex, albeit not in the proper 240-hour mode. I mean, that would just be cruel on my part. And I don't think the deck would survive that anyway. But yeah, otherwise that is it for me on the vocal front for today. I'll talk to you again soon. I tell you, it's been so depressing making this show lately. If you remember, last time we discussed the British Protect and Survive program. We really were going to interview the star of Duck and Cover, Percy Turtle. Sadly, last week, Percy Turtle passed away at the age of 84. good time.